Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. I'm Emmanuel, I'm an airline pilot, and today I got something really exciting at hand. It is a preview version of the Chaos Diamond DA-42. Now, Chaos stands for Creators of Worlds, but I kinda prefer the abbreviated version, to be honest, and it's a development group comprised of actual pilots of the real DA-42, student pilots to be more exact, or at least they used to be student pilots when they started creating their airplane, because over the time they moved up to become actual real-world flight instructors, and another of them is now rated to fly multi-engine. So that is a development group made out of actual real student pilots with a project, or the idea of a project born from, hey, we want something that we can use for our pilot training. And they ultimately designed the DA-42 with creating a tool for actual students to use and practice during their flight training. And that is what we've got on hand right over here with the Chaos Diamond DA-42, releasing on the 10th of February. And it sure looks to be a very promising airplane, an airplane actually built by pilots. That promises a lot, to be honest. It also raises quite some expectations from my side, so I'm really looking forward to give this one a try in today's video. Now, a few things over here. In terms of the flight manuals, you can find all the real-world flight manuals for the Diamond DA-42 on the Diamond website, and they're actually linked in the product documentation as well, so that's really cool. Alright, so let's start with a quick walk around before we jump into our airplane and go get it flying. So I, to be honest, did not manage to collect the real world walk around procedures here quite yet for this airplane, but sure enough we're gonna get there. Alright, so quick look around. We'll start down here on the landing gear and just look at that level of detail. That looks really good in here, especially looking at the stickers on here with the hydraulic fluid, stuff like that. Wonderful. Alright, then let's start moving along the wing, and we're going to get to the trim tab. Now, again, it looks good. I mean, probably created from the real world photos. I wouldn't be surprised if that was the case. Alright, so the winglet itself also looking good. Now, when getting very close up, the textures are a little bit blurry here, as you can see. I mean, I'm German, I need to complain about something, so here it is. Alright, and then again, very good level of detail in the lights over here. Just look at all the different light bulbs and stuff like that. That's really cool. Alright, so the tie down on the lower end, then we got the pitot probe up here, and in the front we do have a de-iced leading edge, which you can see over here. Then that's our store warning up there. And that brings us up to the engine. Now again, very good level of detail. Just look at the wing light over here, for example. Or the ice light, we should call it. Alright, so that's the leading edge of the propeller. And again, look at the level of detail we got in here. This is the de-iced part of the propeller. So this is electrically heated. And from here the ice is going to shed off. Now, superb level of detail, really is. Look at the nose gear then. Once again, very good level of detail we got in here. And then we can move on to the front part of the airplane. So no damages or anything the likes. And very well done model. Very well done model. If we look at the latch over here to actually close the front cargo, well, cargo, you know what I mean. That's looking pretty cool. Alright then, same on the other side, of course. Then we can move on to the back of the plane. And in here we got that characteristic diamond stabilizer with the edges going down to the bottom that you really don't see with a lot of other aircraft. Very well done. Alright, cool. So that is pretty much a look at the outside model, and I gotta say it looks really good. But is that little hole there meant to be? Yeah, it is. Okay. Perfect. Very cool. Then let's head over and jump right into it. So, you can see I opened the canopy already, and, well, it is a very nice looking cockpit, we have to say. Canopy can be opened over here. We'll explore the interior a little bit more later on, but for now, let's just jump straight into it, and here we are. Okay, so we'll probably close the canopy already. So things like the sliding windows can be opened. And this is what the interior model looks like. So, standard diamond layout, and of course we do have the working title G1000 in here. And as you can see, not too many switches, but believe me, those which are there are going to be 100% modeled. And then obviously we do have circuit breakers as well, which you can see we can pull over here as well. Alright, so that's just a little look at all the stuff we got in the front over here. Let's just move to the back for a second then. And here we go. As you can see, we can open the back door as well. And this is what it looks like then from the outside. Big door for people to step in. And in there we got a copy of the pilot operating handbook as well. By the way, nice to see that lying on the aft seat there. Because, yeah, I can't say that I never just threw a manual to the back. So, a really cool thing. Really, really cool thing. Alright, so, that much about the general look at the airplane. Now, how about we go back to the front and we take a flying. So, I got a checklist here from the DA-42 from flight school. So let's go straight for that. It is worth saying though that I did not fly the DA-42. I flew the Pipers, the Seneca and the Seminole, and did my multi-engine training on those. So even though I do still have all the original documentation for the DA-42 as well, I did not fly those myself. Alright, so pre-flight inspection completed, mass and balance. Well, let's have a very quick look into that. Mass and balance. Yeah, we got two people in the front over here, and we'll stay on 50% fuel. That should be sufficient for what we want to do today. Okay, checked. Papers on board, emergency equipment checked, canopy and rear door. They're both locked. Where are they? Yes. Okay. So there they are, both locked. Then park and brake set. So that's set when it is at the bottom. That's kind of an interesting logic. I never understood that with Diamond, but it is how it works. Okay, so alternate static and emergency gear, they are checked. Then avionic master. So that's located over here, off. Horizon cage and hold. Okay, on, electric master on. So, circuit breakers. I did play around with them a little bit prior to starting the recording, but looks like they're all in. I did put them back, that's very good. Okay, elevator backstop check. So, for the elevator backstop, pull the stick all the way to the back, then push the thrust levers forward, and that... Yeah, look at that. The elevator did move forward a tiny bit there. So, that's the elevator backstop. Then, flaps up position set, and that is set. Flight controls checked. Alright, that's the flight controls checked. Then fuel selector, left, right, sufficient on. Okay, so left and right fuel selectors are on. By the way, nice to see that little safety feature down here. See, like that, you can now put the fuel selector into the aft position from the crash feed, but like that you're blocking it. And that is modeled as well. I can't put it any further aft. Okay, so the fuel selectors are on. Then let's go with the starting engine checklist. So, power levers idle, checked. ECU swap auto, that's over here. Electronic control unit. And yes, this airplane is basically FADEC equipped. So, alternators on, located down here. And as you can see, they're on. By the way, did you just see that movement of a switch? Like, if you just go down here for a second and go really close up, then look at that. That switch is protected, and you need to pull it out in order to be able to move it up. And if you look at this, they actually simulated that movement correctly. That's pretty cool. Alright, so, alternators on, ADAS and startup clearance. Well, you could quickly get our weather from here through the Navigraph chart plugin. Once again, signed me out. I don't know why it's constantly doing that these days. But anyway, let's just quickly say hello to Navigraph once again. Okay, and that thing is now linked. Thank you very much. And then weather, Sylt 320 at 17, QNH 1002. Okay, 1002, we can put that in. Here we go. And in here, PFD option, altitude units, hectopascals. 1002, selected. Alright, looking good. Then, strobe lights on. You don't have a beacon in here, so the strobe is used as beacon. Alright, then let's go. So, engine master 1, on. Check engine readings. Then engine system page. Well, gotta get rid of the charts first, I believe. Shouldn't we just have gotten out of this? Like that? Okay, first of all, silence the warning. Because that's annoying. Okay, so. And then, to get out of the charts, well, suppose we can just do it that way. Okay, engine system page. Here we go. So, that is checked. Then, if glow indication on engine number 1 is off, and it is off by now already, then without delay, engine 1 start. Yeah, that much about the without delay part. Anyway, here we go. Nope. Come on, where is the click spot? That's a little well hidden. Well, okay, that's interesting. I only got a click spot to move it to the right. Where's the click spot to move it left? And look at that, I can always just put it to the right side, but putting it to the left side, maybe if I move my... Yeah, here it is. Well, that was hidden a little bit. That was hard to find, that click spot. But okay, the engine is running now, because as you can see from the standard side, I only got a click spot moving to the right, not to the left. But okay, so, oil pressure is checked and looking good. By the way, nice to see it jumping a little bit up and down there. I have a feeling I know where these guys are going with this airplane. So that's gonna be interesting. Okay, then, engine 2 repeat. So, engine 2 master on. Right glow on. And as soon as that is completed... Right, here we go. Right engine on. Alright, RPM's looking good, oil pressure looking good. So that's the starting engine checklist complete. Let's continue with the after start checklist. Avionic master on. Then altimeters QNH set. Com nav GNS for departure. Well, we are basically not going to use any of the fancy stuff here, because this is just going to be a quick look at the plane VFR. So let's just tune the comms for a standard Honeycomb departure over here. Like so, 1215, 1228. Don't need anything on the navs for that reason. I will simply deselect those ILS frequencies that it had in here, like that. Okay, so gyro check, let's just cage that once more. And that is kind of looking good to me now. Alright, pitot stall and gear warning checked. Alright, so let's see. Suppose we just had to do that from the outside, right? So somebody just had to go out and hold the stall warning up there. Gear warning, do we have a test? Yes, we do. Okay, so gear and fire test are looking good. And then park and brake release is going to be up next. So let's go ahead and have a look at the flight dynamics that Cow came up with. Or that the cows came up with. I do hope it's okay for you guys if I call you cows. Ooh. Okay, just a tiny bit of power here. And look at that. Very well maneuverable. Right, brake check. Looking good. Funny how they actually placed those markings here, like, pilots, go south. Just do it. Okay, so runway 6 is ahead and we'll be crossing that runway. So, clear left side, clear right side. Plane has a little bit of a tendency to actually taxi to the left, but that is okay. Not that easy, actually. It does take a little bit of getting used to. But honestly, real aircraft often have that tendency. So, while we're taxiing, quick look at the controls. So when we go to the right, we see correct indications. And when we go to the left, we'll do that over there. Right now I need quite a bit of left rudder input in order to maintain my airplane on that runway, but no surprises there. Okay, we can bring that VFR chart up already. Okay, so we'll taxi all the way up to the holding point, and once we're at the holding point, that's when we are going to run our next procedures. In the meantime, taxi checklist, brakes checked, flight controls checked, flap operation. Okay, so give me my flaps, please. Okay, quick visual check is looking good as well. And the plane goes over to the left. Come on. It's fun to taxi this. It's the very first time that I'm actually taxiing the airplane right now. And the way how the plane responds needs a little bit of attention to taxi. But I can very well imagine this to become quite a bit of fun when you actually get hold of it. Obviously the wind does play a role over here. If you look at the windsuck over there, you can see it's almost fully deflected. Right now I'm doing a full right rudder input, and I can barely get the plane to keep going right. Now, I could imagine that to be realistic, because we do have quite a little bit of wind today, and that is definitely going to make things a little harder. Okay, now I need differential braking. This is full right rudder input. Wow, okay. That is rather extreme right now. Okay, if I use differential thrust, then it becomes easy. If I just use the left engine, now I'm using a bit of thrust from the left engine, and now it's much easier to control. Okay, well, stop here, turn it slightly, looks good. So, park and brake is set again. Then let's go ahead with our run-up checklist. So, power levers idle. ECU 1 and 2 test button, press and hold. Okay, so I suppose we can't just hold them both at the same time in the sim, so we'll have to do them separately. We'll start with ECU 1. Turns the engine up. Now it's automatically going to switch between the different ECUs, as we should be able to see on here on the ICAS. Now the engine went to idle, now it's testing the other electronic control units. But we should see them show ECU A and ECU B fail one by one, depending on which one is turned off. Okay, that's a good test on number 2. Then let's do the other engine. So now it's starting with ECU A. Of course, you need to keep the button held down over here while the test is being performed. Now it's switching ECUs. Now it's going to test ECU B. Alright, that's looking good. Excellent, so then we just swap it over to ECU B. Well, it should have done that automatically anyway. Okay, so that's the run-up checklist complete. Okay, B4 takeoff checklist. Flaps for takeoff. So, let's think about it for a second. For the takeoff procedure, it is normally flaps up takeoff, as far as I can see in the procedures. So we are going to keep the flaps on up. Rotation at 70 knots. So we start lifting the nose wheel at 70 knots and then climb at 90 knots. As soon as we're at a safe altitude, we're going to set the load to 90%, turn the landing light off, and then climb at 100 knots. Now, if we were to go into a circuit, well, not immediately. We'll do a little bit of en route stuff first, and then later on we're going to go to doing a couple of circuits. So, starting over here, we're going to depart via the routing down to the south. So if we take a look at that, we climb straight ahead, then make a left-hand turn over Whiskey to Sierra. And I do believe Sierra is it already, is it? No, it's Hotel. I believe that Sierra 1 over here belongs to this point, and the Hotel belongs to this point. So we'll fly the Hotel routing. Right. So maximum altitude. Well, if it says 2000 over here, it'll also be 2000 over here. So let's go ahead and set that up. So maximum 2000, that means we'll set a target at 1700, so that we leave ourselves a little bit of margin before we actually go to fly into the airspace that we're not supposed to fly into. Okay, cool. So that much about it. Then I would say emergency briefing, engine failure or severe malfunction before liftoff, abort the takeoff, throttles closed, brake as required. After liftoff with sufficient runway, land straight ahead, throttles closed, check gear down, flaps full, brake as required. Below 75 knots in each case, land on runway or suitable area. If no sufficient runway, maintain heading and prepare for a forced landing. Avoid obstacles, maximum 30 degrees left-right. Above 75 knots without sufficient runway, decide to abort or continue. If continue, power levers max, rudder apply for directional control, maintain heading and airspeed, positive climb, gear up, flaps up, set pitch for blue line 82 knots and secure dead engine. In all cases, inform ATC and state intentions as necessary. Now it's going to be a normal takeoff on runway 32, that is over 2000 meters available, rolling takeoff with a flap 0, the runway is dry, and we do have a little bit of crosswind. Let's just check on that one more time, please. So that is down here. Charts, weather. Okay, 320 at 17, so the wind is actually coming from straight ahead. QNH still 1002, which is set, and apart from that, it's looking good. Okay, so rotate at 72, climb at 85, and cruise climb later on at 100, and leaving the Patron via the hotel route, climbing 1,700 feet. Okay, and that's it. Any questions? No? Awesome. Then I would say we're pretty much ready to go. So, we'll use the VFR map, and that is looking good. Alright, cool. Before takeoff checklist. So, flaps set for takeoff, autopilot is not engaged, takeoff and departure briefing completed, emergency briefing completed, canopy and door locked, rudder is adjusted. Okay, trim. Let's just see real quick, where do we have the trim indication in this airplane? Probably nicely hidden again. Those diamond aircraft usually have an electric trim indication. But okay, down here it has a conventional one. Okay, fine. So trim is set for takeoff, seatbelts fastened, fuel selector left and right are on, landing lights on. Okay, takeoff time copied, park and brake released, and that's the before takeoff checklist complete. Okay then, lineup checklist. Transponder alt. We'll check the runway heading once we're actually on it. P2M stall heaters are on. Stall heat failed, that's probably because our speed is too low. So just look at that. Lined up on the runway and we're getting 33 knots of wind of speed. In other words, we really got some severe winds here. And it seems to be a little gusty as well. So that's just something to keep in mind. Okay, cool. So, with that, we're pretty much ready to go. Match the heading for the runway heading. Timer. Start, takeoff. Okay, power set. 60 knots, checked. Rotate. So, positive climb, tap the brakes, gear up. A little bumpy here, as the speed indicator surely reveals. Okay, looking for 90 knots. So, landing lights off, set the load to 90%. And that is set. By the way, if I'm talking about load, I mean the load of the power on the engines. Because that is how you steer the Diamond aircrafts, with, or basically any airplane that has the TDI engines. Okay, so 1700 is what we've got. They do say power 50% for traffic patterns. We want to go en route first though, so let's do 75%. Okay, so straight ahead until we're clear of the beach. And once we clear the beach, we can start our left turn out of the immediate Patron area. Should get something at about 130 knots or so at 70% load, so at 75%, probably a tiny bit more than that. So I'd say we just about level off over here and see what we're gonna get. So, starting the left turn out then. And see, I'm already 200 feet above the altitude I dialed in, so scratching the controlled airspace here. By the way, quick correction of myself. I said we're expecting 130 knots. That is actually not correct. I prepared to fly the TDS version of the airplane, but the TDS in the preview version had a couple issues. So for that reason I had to choose the version with the other engines, which are quite a bit stronger now, but obviously that means that a lot of the preparation work I did somehow turned void pretty quickly. So we are going a little bit faster here, we've got the stronger engines on the airplane. Alright, so let's set our map to follow us. According to the chart, we should fly a little bit further out from the beach, but I tell you honestly, I did fly this very departure in the real world with the Cessna 172. Now obviously that's a single engine plane, while we are flying a multi-engine right now, but still, I don't feel comfortable flying out to the ocean, you know, that far. And honestly, it's winter, it's February, there aren't going to be many rich guys sitting on the beach just waiting to write noise reports about us. So, as long as we don't actually overfly the beach, but as long as we keep a little bit of distance, I'm totally happy to proceed like that. But look at our crab angle right here. I mean, I'm probably looking almost in the direction of where we're flying, and well, can nicely see that down here on the Garmin as well. That's like, what, almost 20 degrees of drift angle. Let's get a wind display here. Wind option 3. Yeah, 50 knots crosswind right now up here. That's definitely going to make things interesting. But that's how we like it, isn't it? Alright, so first impression then of our departure before we are going to do a little bit of air work as soon as we have left the controlled airspace of Sylt. Well, first impression is pretty good. Now, the taxi was a little bit difficult at first, but I do realize that we did take the airplane out in maximum winds, and during certain portions of the taxi, that was definitely maximum crosswind. Combine that with the fact that this is my first flight with the airplane, and the fact I had to read checklists at the same time, which were rather unknown to me, because I basically never used them before, then you quickly get why I had some control difficulties in the first place. However, now that we're in the air, now that we're out of the turbulence, the plane does behave pretty nicely. It's very small control inputs here in order to move the plane. That's pretty much how I would expect the plane like this to move. And as soon as we are out of the immediate vicinity of the airport, we are definitely going to go and do a little bit of air work and see what the airplane can really do. So, quick thing here, please follow me on the map. Interesting, this shows me over the beach, but we're close to it, but not over. I suppose the map isn't that accurate after all. Well, it's not meant to be that accurate either. I bring a couple of lights don't really do much during daylight, do they? No. Okay, that's fine, then we gotta do without the lights. I mean, we can see everything. Probably just gonna keep the plane a little bit further away from the beach. Okay, and then we'll be outside the control zone very soon. So, quick word over here, the airplane itself is... Ooh, that was a nice gust there. So, the airplane itself is pretty much fully simulated. All the systems, everything done by real DA-42 pilots, which is very, very cool. So, I am holding some very high expectations on the plane. So, let's see if it is going to hold up to it. The avionics themselves, though, are the typical working title G1000 unit, and I do have the Navigraph plugin in here as well, which is where you get all this good stuff from that you see right over here. So the airspace does look a little bit complicated in the vicinity of Sylt. Rest assured, as soon as we're outside of this over here, we're outside the controlled airspace, and then we can climb up higher to, let's say, about 3,000 feet, where we are going to do our air work. Off the takeoff checklist real quick, by the way. Landing gear up, flaps up, power levers are set, and landing lights is off. After takeoff checklist complete. So then, we're looking for 3,000, we said. And we're about to overfly Hotel 2, about to leave the controlled airspace, so let's set 90% power. Like this, and off we go. As you can see, I do climb the airplane rather shallow over here, just 1,000 foot a minute rate of climb. Obviously, I could just pull all the speed out, but remember the airplane is unpressurized, so in order to protect our ears from popping, I don't really want to do more than 1,000 feet a minute. I did do more than that in my actual flight training, and believe me, it wasn't all that nice. Definitely nothing that you want to go for if you can by any means avoid it. Alright, gotta retrim the plane, of course, all the time, and then out and away we are. Okay, so that's Amrum over here. We don't want to fly over that. And then we got Fur on the left, and I do suppose we are just going to fly somewhere in the middle of the island, so that when we do our air work, we don't just you know, we don't just fly out to the open ocean. Alright, so power down to 72%. That is what we are going to use for our cruise at first. .72, here we are. Okay, let's not fly directly over the city. And then obviously we got to be a little bit careful for how long we fly eastbound. Because if you look at the wind, we've got 52 knots of tailwind right now. But at some point we will have to fly all of that back. Okay, so this is looking rather good to me. We're staying outside the airspace of Zod. We are staying away from the islands. We're doing a lovely 200 knot ground speed right now with that wind. Even though that is soon going to change into a less than 100 knot ground speed when we are flying back. So let's not be too happy about that ground speed. Alright, so here we are. Let's start with a little bit of air work. We're going to start with a standard turn to the right. 25 degrees bank, maintaining 3000. Okay, easy going. Let's do the same to the left. You do need a little bit of rudder here, but I have to say the rudder handles pretty nicely on this airplane. On many aircraft in Microsoft Flight Simulator I find it almost impossible to use the rudder properly. On this one though, it really shows that the guys who made the plane are actually real pilots as well, because this handles really, really well. Okay then, let's do steep turn. To the right please, maintaining 3000, 45 degrees bank. We are going to lose a little bit of speed throughout that. But not all that much as we can see. Alright, easy going. That's how an airplane needs to handle, especially a trainer aircraft. Look at that. My controls are basically frozen in position. And everything just works perfectly. Alright then, same into the other direction. Again, watch the turn coordinator as we are rolling over here. I do have to make a rudder input in order to keep that centered, but that rudder input works really, really nicely. And as you can see, easy going. Okay, let's roll wings level. Man, this is really one of the few aircraft where the rudder inputs actually work. I mean, work as they are designed to work. Alright, then let's put the fuel pumps on. Power to idle. Okay, that's the landing gear warning. That's fine. So, on to the stall test. Yeah, intentional, my friend. But I'm not going to pull the circuit breaker. I'll tell you a story in a few moments. Okay, we gotta pull more and more on the stick. That's the stall warning. Okay, pitch down, power on, recover. Looking good. Alright, climbing back to 3000. Alright, that's 3000. So, flaps, take off. And flaps full. Gear down. Okay, power idle, let's do the next stall test. And here's the stall warning. So, pitch down, recover. Looking good. By the way, look at that. Almost standing in the air. That's 50 knots of headwind right now. Doing a ground speed of just about 30 knots. 38 to be exact. Tell you what, let's pull that power a little bit. I want to stabilize it at 70 knots. And then see what ground speed we're going to get. By the way, the plane trims very nicely. I'm trimming it out right now. Look at how precisely I can maintain my pitch while I'm trimming it. That's really something worth mentioning, because many flight sim aircraft are very hard, if not impossible, to trim. Okay, let's reduce that speed. That's 30 knots ground speed right now. Look at that. We're almost standing. We are almost standing. That's of course due to the headwind. So let's go even slower. 70 knots. Ground speed 24. So this is taxi speed now. Okay, here's the stall warning. At about 65 knots. But look at the ground speed on the top left of the right Garmin display. 22 knots. If you look at that from the outside, we've almost parked it. I love it, man. Alright, so that's just something I needed to test. Alright, let's accelerate again. Alright, flaps approach, gear up. Look at how the plane reacts to all those configuration changes. Okay, flaps up. I really have to use my stick now in order to maintain the flight path. Alright, back to maintaining 3000. Let's turn out a little bit again. Okay, set 90% load. Make sure we don't overfly the city itself. And then let's relieve the farmhouse below us from the continuous engine sounds and fly back to the open ocean. Alright, so bringing it all in trim again. So let's go for a little bit of touch and go training, shall we? So that means descending down towards 1700 once again. By the way, the wind is rather steady. Let's just give it a maximum speed test and see what the plane feels like over there. As currently there is no turbulence, even though the wind itself is rather strong, I want to bring it up to 180 knots. Gotta be a little bit careful here with the controlled airspace. Just make sure that we don't scratch it. Which probably means a little bit more of a left-hand turn now. Okay, slightly scratching it. Tell you what, transponder, stand by. We're not here, we are not here. We're all above your airspace. And we're out again. Transponder, out. Not that they couldn't combine 1 and 1 and figure themselves what we did here, but hey, tell you what. Alright, so that's 90% power over here, and we really gotta force it into a descent to approach that overspeed. Okay, let's not get right into it. I've seen what I wanted to see. Kind of the power off a little bit again. Okay, and then we start the right-hand turn back towards the actual control zone. Okay, we're going to enter via the Sierra routing into direct base for runway 32, and we will start by doing a touch and go. Okay, 1700, let's stabilize there again. 72% load. Is set. Okay, trim it out, which can be done really, really nicely in here. Okay, so let's go for the approach checklist then. So, ATIS QNH received set, ComNav GNS for approach set, V approach 110 knots, approach briefing, yeah, is completed honestly, belts fastened, gyro checked, fuel selector, left and right are on, park and brake is released, and the landing lights are on. Approach checklist complete. Alright, this time flying a little bit more on the southern side of Sylt. There is a bird reservoir just in the front over there. But with that one we gotta be a little bit careful that we don't catch a bird over there. Might just reduce the speed a little bit before we actually get there. And let's get out of the transponder menu down there. That just leads to... that just fuels the temptation. Alright, so the bird reservoir is coming up over there. On that little part. That's the bird area where we gotta be careful. By the way, just to mention it, the actual control zone of the tower only starts here at Sierra 2. The area marked down here is the Class Echo airspace, so technically speaking, we didn't enter any controlled airspace without permission there. Okay, so that is looking pretty good. Even though that crap angle is still... I mean, we're flying like over there. If you look at it, we're flying pretty much towards that area over here. That just looks really amazing, doesn't it? Okay, then approaching the bird area and Sierra 2. Let's go ahead and reduce that power a little bit in order to reduce our speed to 110 knots. In order to minimize the possible effects of a bird strike. Okay then, off to the right in order to maintain our distance from the bird reservoir. That's basically the area you find within the dike over there. So the entire area in there. That's the bird protection area that we aren't supposed to fly over. Alright, so... let's get the speed down. Approach flaps can be out up to 135 knots, so let's go for those. Right, landing gear down. Yes, I'm checking it already. Relax. Okay, let's not get too slow here. Okay, landing flaps. Look at that, man. We are literally flying there. I just love it. I just completely love it. Really. Okay, so this is going to be a touch and go. So as soon as we're on the ground and when control is assured, retract the flaps to up, and then we are going to start our to set takeoff thrust, and we're going to fly a left-hand traffic pattern. And we're within the ground turbulence again. Checked. So not more than 1,000 feet a minute rate of descent here. Believe me, it's looking high, but look at that. If we maintain this rate of descent, we'll easily meet the runway. The reason I'm approaching a little bit higher is, in case we have an engine failure, I just want to be able to make the runway. We do have 2 engines, but, you know, better safe than sorry. The next one will then fly in the Puppy, so that you guys get to see what it should look like. Okay, idle. Ouch! And we're down. Okay, flaps up. Then set power. Power set, rotate. Positive climb, tap the brakes. Why do we get a don't sink warning? We don't sink. Or maybe it's the German Coast Guard? Okay, that warning is annoying now. Which system causes that? Really don't know. I mean, perhaps if we just trigger the actual conditions, like sink after takeoff, that is normally what causes it. Then just pull up a little bit again. Yeah, now it's gone. Okay, that was interesting. Definitely not meant to get that. Okay, power 90% set. Let's maintain 1000 over here for the pattern. Could of course just set that over here as well. And then right over the city, yeah? That's how you like it. So 50% power for the traffic pattern is set. The next one we're going to fly with a little bit more accuracy. So right over the city, that's how we like it. Okay then, another left turn into the downwind. So that's going to be a pretty fast downwind now. Let's already start pulling some more of that power out. I told you earlier that I wanted to tell you a story with regards to the landing gear and the circuit breaker. So, when I was in flight school, some students did exactly that. They did some stall training, and due to the low power setting, they always got the landing gear warning when they reduced the power. Now, eventually, to get rid of that warning, they pulled the circuit breaker off the landing gear warning. And on the next approach, they forgot to extend the landing gear, they did not get the warning, and they made a belly landing unintentionally. So, that is, by the way, the reason why I flew 2 different multi-engine aircraft in my training. They scratched the Seminole, so all the flight school had left was the Seneca, and that's how I got to fly the Seneca. Definitely not going to complain about it. The Seneca is a very nice airplane. But, you know, being halfway through your multi-engine training and then changing the type, that was interesting. Alright, so, flaps approach, gear down, flaps landing. Alright, that's what I told you, we got quite a bit of tailwind. This is the standard zoom in the cockpit, by the way. In my opinion, zoomed out a little bit too far. Because even on my 40-inch monitor, it becomes rather hard to read the instruments. So let me just zoom in a little bit more again for you. This is better. Okay, so let's see how good the puppy is. It feels to me like we're on glide, but let's just fly down into the puppy and see what that looks like. A little bit gusty over here, but not too hard to handle that, to be honest. Could have imagined much worse. Okay, here we go, right in the puppy. So, 60 knots ground speed. 6 times 5 means we need 300 feet a minute rate of descent in order to maintain that puppy. We're definitely being tossed around a little bit, that's out of question. Okay, let's try to keep the speed above the single engine maneuvering speed. So, this time we gotta make it a little bit smoother, huh? Ooh. A little gust there. Okay, so, let's see. That is much better. Okay, flaps up. Set power. Power set and checked. Rotate. Positive climb. Gear up. And we get the don't sink warning again. Well, I'll tell you what, let's do the same we did last time. So don't sink is a GPWS mode that should come if you lose altitude after takeoff or a go-around. So... this time we can't cancel it. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, they gotta work on that one. I'm surely going to hand in a report for that. Okay, passing 800 feet, then it stops. Well, that is interesting. Definitely not supposed to happen. Okay, so 1,000 feet. Pull down the throttles. Let's make it a right-hand pattern this time. So, straight tailwind at the moment. For that reason, I'll just keep the bank in order to get all the way into the onto the downwind heading. And here we go. Track 140. Here we are. Alright, looking good. So, down there's our runway. And this time it's going to be one more touch and go on this runway, and then I want to do a crosswind landing. So thereafter we're going to go down here onto that runway for a crosswind landing. And that's probably going to be it for the video then, but that certainly does look interesting and promising, so I can't wait to give that a try. Okay, we're beam the threshold. Let's start reducing our speed. This time we don't want to fly out that much. Okay, flaps approach. Let's go right over the city, because why not? Gear down. Start the descent. Yeah, check gear. The gear is coming, my friend. Here we go. Okay, flaps full. So, right over the city at low altitude. Germans love this. Certainly the guys living down there do. I see the noise complaints coming. But I'm just a student. I'm not gonna get into trouble for this. Don't want to be the instructor though. Okay, so here we are, turning final again. I will stay a little bit higher this time again, because the last one just felt, I don't know. It might be due to the wind, it might be due to the fact that we're using a very large runway over here, but the last one just felt a little bit exciting. Okay, a bit more power. Now it's basically looking good. Bit less power now. And idle. Flare. Perfect. Okay, I feel ready for the crosswind. Do you? Then trim is set. Let's go. Take off. Power set. 70 knots. Rotate. Yeah, we know it by now. Okay, positive climb. Gear up. .400 feet. Set climb power 90%. Alright, looking good. So, we'll fly straight ahead for a little bit as we are just about overflying the other runway. And we basically are going to position ourselves into a right-hand downwind straight away. 1,000-foot pattern altitude looks good. Okay, let's take some of that power out already. So, I would say distance from the distance needs to be okay now. Can't see the runway, unfortunately. At least not yet. Okay, let's not climb away. So, this should be roughly it. Yep, down there it is. Okay, approach flaps. Gear down. And let's turn into the base. Okay, keep the speed at 82, landing flaps. And if this one works out, this is going to be the full stop landing. If this doesn't work out, well, then we got a little bit of work to do. I wonder if you should release something like pattern work as a preview video, but I honestly tell you, I don't really care. I'm enjoying flying that airplane, and I enjoy showing it to you guys, so you can always skip forward if you're not interested in all that pattern work and stuff. Checked. Alright, looks like we got no puppy on the runway over here, but that's fine for me. So let's see, we're probably above the crosswind limit of the DA-42. I would absolutely not be surprised if we are, but hey, I don't care. For this one we just want to have fun, do we? Okay, so airplane is nicely in trim, it's nicely in everything, so we're about to get into the ground turbulence. Making sure we keep sufficient distance to the trees down there. And here we go. Okay, power off. Flare. Decrap. Well, it was alright. For a crosswind landing like that, we couldn't flare it for too long because obviously that holds the chance of blowing us off the runway, but all in all, I would say that we did an okay job with this. Alright then, so what can we tell from all those landings? Well, I would say the plane lands very, very well. It's really a joy to fly. You can really see that it's been built with passion. The guys who did this, number one, knew what they were doing, because obviously, as I mentioned earlier, they are actual pilots of the DA-42. The plane was born out of enthusiasm and out of the will to build something you can practice with. And obviously, while Microsoft Flight Simulator is not licensed for any actual flight training or anything, you know, I would say that have the cows achieved their goal? Yeah, they did. This is an awesome plane to fly. The hand flying dynamics are really, really good. We're going to do a second video looking into a little bit more of the systems, and that's probably going to come up as well at some point. But what I can say for now is that it flies really, really nicely. I really enjoyed it, and ultimately that's all that counts, is it? Alright, so runway is vacated. Let's stop here for a short moment and do the after landing checklist. So, flaps up, propede off, transponder, standby. So landing time is copied and fuel selectors, we'll put them on crossfeed for now. Check that everything still works. Fuel pump's coming off. That's the after landing checklist complete. So let's bring it straight back to the parking position, and then we'll go into the final feedback. But I can tell you already it's going to be good feedback. I'm really sitting here with a big smile on my face. The plane's been a lot of fun to fly. Okay, let's park it straight in front of these gentlemen over here. And look at that. On the second attempt, I can taxi it quite a bit better than on the first. Alrighty, here we go. So that's the parking rig set, parking checklist. So parking rig set, power levers have been basically in idle for 2 minutes. Engine and system page. Oil pressure is a little bit low, but we're in idle, that's okay. Right, looking good. Then avionics master off, engine master going off. Strobe light off, electrics master off, and that's the parking checklist complete. Alright guys, how was that? How did you like the first flight with the DA-40? Honestly, myself, I really loved it. I really did. Now I don't know why the camera turned itself upside down. There's this looking better. I really, really loved it, I have to say. It was an awesome airplane to fly. And I'm certainly going to head right out and do the next flight with it. So, a little bit of feedback then. Well, first of all, the model is looking good. The textures, when you get very close up, are a little bit unsharp, but let's not worry about that too much, because they do look good from any normal sort of perspective. Now, just from basic maneuvering and basic handling of the plane, it felt really, really good. So, you can really tell that the guys who made it, the actual developers, have actual experience on the plane, and all their testers had as well. So overall, really, really good feeling actually flying it, and all I can say is that I'm really happy with it. First impression, very good one. Now, it's gonna come out on the 10th of February, so in 3 days from now, from the point of this recording on the 7th, and you certainly have something to look forward to with this one. Now, the developers, cows, did say that they didn't put any fancy tablet or stuff like that in, because they just want an airplane that you can focus on, and it is somewhat aimed at a flight student who is going to fly a DA-42, so these guys will have their EFBs from the flight school that they can use. But nonetheless, if you are looking for actual documentation about the plane and for the real-world manuals, then have a look into the documents folder of the aircraft, and you will find the links to the Diamond website, so the website of the actual airplane manufacturer, and they got all the manuals online, so you can actually get the real-world manuals for this plane. And we just flew it using the real-world checklist. It was a real joy to fly. I'm pretty sure you will be rather happy with it as well. So, Gonna be out on the 10th, and I do really like it, so thank you very much for watching, and I do hope to see you all again on the next one. In the meantime, if you did like the video, be sure to leave a like on YouTube as well, as it does really help out the channel. Be sure to leave a comment to let me know what you think about the DA-42, and finally, be sure to subscribe if you're up for more. Thank you very much for watching. If you really love what I'm doing, I would appreciate a small donation through the Buy Me Coffee link in the video description below. But until then, I'd like to say thank you very much, and see you all again on the next one.